So something that I made was we noticed that, especially in Addigy, we have a few clients where machines, the MDM disconnects, or just kind of random periodic issues with Addigy's MDM, and it's super nice to receive alerts about that. However, it's not done by default. So let me share this workflow I made that actually goes ahead and checks that for you. So are you guys seeing the root side of my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So this essentially goes through, it does a universal search, and it pulls the identifiers that we need. MDM has MDM, MDM last connected, profile approved, is it stuck? Is the certificate installed? Also pull a few other things that is super useful, like current user, serial number, last online, and hostname. So that way we can identify the machine once it's in the ticket. But it'll pull all of the machines from inside Addigy there, and it will then check for the machines. Let me double check. I didn't do that somewhere else. Yeah. It then pulls the current date and subtracts, I think it's 3 months from that. So it will only do machines that are online within 3 months. And we send all of those machines to a sub workflow right here that are ran through all devices and after date, online after 3 months before the current date. And it will go ahead. The tricky thing right here was, so if you have a JSON string before a sub workflow and you need it to be a JSON string after the sub workflow, you need to use the toJSON string and the from JSON string. I did not know that. Thank you, Rewst support. But it also inputs right away, last online and whether or not we want to make a ticket about it. This then sends on over here, which is the sub workflow, and it checks, hey, is it within the date range? Is the last online within the date range that we wanted? If it is, then it continues on. If it's not, it's offline for too long and we'll go to the end. So right here is some variable assignment just for easier tracking and stuff like that, and easier variable calling within the workflow. It just does agent ID, org ID, current user, kind of everything that we exported from before. And this is kind of where all the actual logic and functionality happens. Each of these blocks checks a different type of MDM issue. They're all labeled accordingly. No MDM installed. Certificate that should say not installed. Certificate not installed. Profile approval failed. MDM client stuck. So those are kind of the four main ones I've seen from Addigy where the MDM stops working. Then that'll send it to this sub workflow. Hey, do we want to make a ticket? If we do, send it over here. As of right now, we don't have it in full production yet. So it just sends an email to whoever that is. As of right now, it's me. But it'll send you an email, and that looks something like this. Let me pull that up. What's the error? No MDM installed. What's the current user? What's the serial number? And what's the host name if you were able to grab it? And it'll wrap all that up in a nice little bow of an email, and it'll send it on through, and it does that for each device. I did that so that once we do convert it over to creating tickets or something like that, it is a pretty easy switch over of, hey, I just removed this block, I put in an update or create ticket, and it'll be pretty much all set to go from there. But that's how we're kind of monitoring within Addigy. One general heads up about Addigy, though, that I noticed painstakingly all the variables will show with a capital starting for the word. So for example, test config. The T and the C are going to be capital. However, if you go to make an API call, they are not capital. Even though it displays it in the response as being capital letters and everything like that. If you make a request with anything but lowercase letters, it'll just error out. It's not able to find that value. So that is one thing I ran into. Also, if there's any spaces, anything like that, it's always going to be an underscore for Addigy.